Welcome to A Glimpse into the Moment. How are you? Oh, I hope you've had a great couple of days. Oh, today's podcast, reacting or actioning. What are you doing with your life? Sounds so ominous. What I learned this week is that I have been living in a space of reacting to my life instead of a space of actioning my life. Right now, I'm wondering how many of you go, "Ooh, yeah, I get that." And I'm wondering how many of you are like, "Dude, I have no idea what she's talking about." I couldn't have understood the difference or understood the difference or seen the difference or felt the difference. Honestly, a week ago, 2 weeks ago, I would have honestly thought that I was actioning my life when in reality, I now see it as that I was reacting to my life. So I don't want to control my future. I can't. I can't control my future. I don't know what kind of things are going to come at me. But I can do the very best in the moment to create the future that's the healthiest for me. That's the difference between reacting, having something happen, and out of frustration, resentment, irritation, anger, self abandonment, I react to the situation instead of having something happen to me, at me, around me, and taking a moment, really literally closing my eyes, breathing through it, and then start tallying up my options. Options were the key this week. I learned I have options. You have options. There are always options. Now, the options might be difficult to do, but even if it's difficult, it's still an option. So I closed my eyes. I had a particularly difficult thing happen, and I closed my eyes, slowed the panic down, did some breathing. Remember when we did our breathing a couple of podcasts ago? Let your shoulders fall. As I did that breathing, I started to really think about, what am I doing here? Why am I getting caught in this uncontrollable, out of my hands issue? This problem. I didn't create it. I don't have any way to change it. But what am I going to do that's best for Nita to see Nita through that problem? And as I sat there in the dark, it was, I don't know, way past midnight when I got to this spot, when I realized it was about a 3-minute space of not panic, but just heightened alert, heightened anxiousness. I'll be honest, maybe a few tears. And then I parked it. I let it settle and I breathed through it. And suddenly pathways started to develop as I asked myself, what am I going to do? Am I going to let this thing control me? Am I going to let it throw me around like I'm at the end of a tethered cord to it? Am I going to chase it around, reacting all the time to it, being frustrated, angry, resentful? And in that 3 minutes, when I shifted to breathing, everything in me was screaming, no, you're not going to do that. You are not going to allow that to happen. You are going to choose you. You are going to show up for you, Nita. And the options started to pop into my head. All right, some of them immediately got, crossed out like a great big old buzzer on a game show. You're out of here. But other options really took hold. And I was able to think on those options. What would have to happen in order for those options to actually happen? And suddenly a little list of to-dos started popping into my head, right? I wasn't going to wait for that thing to grab me by the hair and throw me around, make me chase it and resent it and hate it and cuss at it. I looked at my options that I could see through my vision without talking to anybody else. These are the options that I could see, that I could put into action. And I was finally able to go to sleep and rest. And for the first time in my life, that morning when I woke up, do you know what I did? By 7:30 a.m., I was already putting into motion meetings that needed to take place in the next week, 2 weeks, phone calls that needed to happen, things that needed to happen to action a supportive net, right? It's not going to control the future, but it sure is going to put some healthy practices into play. And it's going to give other people options. It's going to give other people clarity. It's going to lead with action instead of waiting until I had to react. That's the difference. That is the difference that we're going to talk about today. Stick around for after this break, and we'll come back. We'll talk about reaction versus action and how you get to that point. Okay, so stick around. I look forward to talking to you, with you, at you. Hang on, and we'll be right back. Thanks. Welcome back. Action versus reaction. How do you get there? How do you even recognize it? It's been an interesting journey to this point of realizing that I actually could action my life. And the first real step in that, if I'm super honest with you, boundaries. Boundaries, boundaries, boundaries. Choose yourself. Choose to show up for you. Every single time that I taught myself, I am not worthy. I am not worthy of showing up for myself. I am not worthy of choosing me. No matter how much the inside of me was screaming, do this, choose you. Do not bake the peanut butter cookies for the parent bake sale at the school. You do not have time to do that. No matter how many times I screamed internally for me to choose path A of self-preservation. And all those times that I verbally abandoned myself and I said, oh, I'll do the cookies, or I'll do this, or I'll do that, or I'll be silent while somebody says something mean. I'll be silent while somebody is abusive, is a bully. I'll be silent. Decade after decade after decade, I told myself I was not worthy of showing up for. I was taught that. It's a learned behavior. But what I've learned in therapy, all learned behaviors can be unlearned, and it's my responsibility to unlearn them. I'm not going to be mad at the learned behavior. I'm not even going to be mad at the person who taught it to me. Because quite honestly, I'm a fucking awesome chick. So that learned behavior is part of why I am the amazing woman that I am. So I will not be mad about the past that I cannot control or change. I will not be mad about the future that I cannot control. But I will live in the moment. And I'm going to shift by setting boundaries, these tiny little ways of showing up for myself, these tiny little things that can evidence in a massive way to me, that I matter, that my feelings, my emotions, that everything within me is valuable and matters. When I started to do that, and then I would leave a situation where I would choose myself. And I've talked about them some on here, those times when I chose myself, and the chaos in some of them that would unleash. When I bring that forward, like in talking about each of those instances where that has happened, and I bring that forward to the reality of how that feels, it begins to feel so good and so normal that you begin to do it more and more and more. And those first few times, honestly, the first few times I set boundaries, I called my therapist. I texted her. And I'm like, this is the boundary I set. This was the reaction that I got. I'm scared. I'm scared. And she would talk me through that every single time. She would point out evidences that I had done the right thing, and she had pointed out pathways forward. Her teaching me, leading me, guiding me into the minefield of setting boundaries and holding those boundaries without apology, without regret, without shift, without sway, but unapologetically pushing forward into what was best for Nita. Every single time that I did that, those drops in my bucket began to fill my self-worth, my self-love, my self-confidence. Until a couple of weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, I set my first boundary, very calm, very collected, very matter of fact. Nope, that's not the way it is. That's not the way it's going to happen. This is what's going to happen. You're talking about my life, not yours. Period. That's it. And it wasn't well received. But even though it wasn't well received, when the person left, I felt fine. I didn't even second guess it. I didn't even think about it. It just felt natural. A few days later, I needed to set a massive boundary. Massive. Attacked in public, over and over and over and over and over. My words were invisible on this person. Eventually, to make it stop, after many, 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 many minutes of hearing what this person wanted and needed from me, in order for me to make it stop, my boundary had to get as loud as their needs and wants were, and as directly, I don't want to say we were screaming, but it was definitely passionate, matched in intensity and passion. And that made it stop. And I drove away from that very public display. I drove away from that feeling okay. I have every right to set boundaries that protect me, that honor me. I have every right to expect the people who want to be in my life actually see and hear me. Because if they don't see and hear me, well, then I'm right back where I started in this whole mess. I'm invisible. I'm living a lie. So if you cannot see me and hear me before my boundaries remove you from my life, you might want to decide where you want to land in my life. That's not my choice. It's yours. Because I will now protect myself. This simple idea of setting boundaries began to teach me that by showing up for me, there's so much that I'm capable of, that I am worthy of. And by freeing up all of this extra space and time from people's desires, right? No matter what their ask is, if it doesn't feel right for me, it's okay to just be a no. You don't have to have an explanation. You don't have to make them feel good about your no. If they respect you and value you, they will say, well, I don't understand why you can't do that, but I accept it and I respect you. I know that you have your reasons because you love me and I love you. You're my friend, right? But when people can't do that, they're going to continue to hit on your boundaries, not test, not push. They will hit on your boundaries. And any sign, any inkling that you are not going to stand firm in them, and it's their in. So be cautious, be aware, choose you. In choosing you, you're going to end up with some amazing gifts out of that, right? We've already covered the self-love bucket goes do-do-do-do-do. That was not a very good waterfall upward sound effect, Nita. But you know what I mean. Your self-love, your self-worth, your self-valuing, your acceptance of your emotions, if you are validating and working through all of your emotions, you are going to feel a peace and a calmness and a sense of inner power start to come to light. And it's a pretty magical thing to have happen to you. Stick with me, come back on the other side of the break, and we will finish up our conversation actioning your life, reacting to your life. Welcome back. Actioning, reacting. By that simple act of teaching myself over, let's not lie, it's been over a long period of time. I have been practicing boundaries for over a year. I've been really good at boundaries for 9 months. They were messy and ugly for a long period of time, but I was really good at setting them and when I needed to set them and holding them. No, I was good at holding them for the last 8 months, 6 months. But the last month, I have been a freaking rock star, just superhero level, recognizing when, setting, and holding firm. And it is not mine to own if somebody doesn't hear a previous boundary and then attacks because they didn't hear it. That's their truth. But it isn't mine to own. Simply say, I understand that you do not understand, and that is not my problem. And then put a period on the end of it and step away. Okay? In doing this idea that I had options started to be born. And as the idea of options became born, the reality that if I have options, well, what do I do with them? Now that I respect myself, appreciate myself, see myself, can hear myself, value myself, and the list goes on and on, what do I do with the options? I'm going to action them. I'm going to action the ones that I didn't blow up and throw away, right? When I ran through my list of what my options were, I'm going to action all the ones that I think have some credence, that might play out to manifest a path of least resistance. Something that I'm thinking like water, right? Got water running down a mountain. It's going to follow the path of least resistance. It just keeps moving and keeps moving and keeps moving. And that's what options do. That's what actioning options do. Doesn't mean that you're going to action the one that turns out to be the diamond in the end, but it does mean that you're actioning lots of your options to see which way is going to turn out to be the best way. So when I decided in the morning to wake up and get my actioning, I do recognize that was redundant. But when I woke up and I put those options into my actioning self, well, within the hour, I had 3-4 meetings already set up. I had already had 2 phone calls, and I felt completely solidified in a course. When you get that cement under you, that solidification that you have created a course, no one else, you didn't wait, you didn't react, you didn't wait for somebody else to create a path and then you walk their path for them or with them. You did this yourself. You took the plunge. You were courageous. We've talked about courage a lot. Courage is so important. And in those moments when courage leaps off the page, you need to grab it. You need to grab it. Courage is something to keep close to you at all times, because courage will help you action options. It will help you live your life. The end of the week, kind of fast forwarding to the end of the week, when I looked back at all that I had accomplished by actioning, by believing in myself, by believing in my right to manifest a path, manifest multiple pathways, and to see what was going to work out the best, I felt incredibly empowered about my life. I felt, honestly, if I'm really being honest with you, I felt like the sky's the limit. Okay? The sky's the limit. There is nothing about my life or your children's lives or your spouse's life, your boss's life that is so mapped out from beginning to end. And if you are living like your life is mapped out from A to Z, well, love, you need to shake up the damn snow globe and let those pieces fall back down and do a little breathing, journaling, maybe some life coaching, maybe some therapy, who knows? Maybe you just need a weekend away to really start thinking about, what are my priorities? What am I abandoning? What am I not facing in my feelings, in my fears? What's going to happen if I face those? Is the world going to fall apart? Likely not. Likely not. Okay. What's the worst thing that could happen? I could fall flat on my face, and then I'd have the opportunity to stand up again and try a new pathway. There's no shame in falling flat on your face. There's no shame in trying. There's none. None at all. People who throw shame at you, who throw judgment at you, that is on them. And they shouldn't be in your path anyway. Throw up a boundary and let them choose to exit your path. Because those who try and try and try and try and action and action and action, trying equals actioning. Failing is a product of trying. There is no real failure. There's just, now we got to adjust the sails, right? It's perspective. You are capable of this and so much more. And you know it. I know it. I knew I was my whole life. I just couldn't figure out how to make any of it happen. And then when I started to figure out how to make it happen, I couldn't get enough. That's why I am completely head over heels enchanted by the process of what therapy has done for Nita and her children. Therapy is creating a healthy, balanced, self-loving family. And that alone is worth every single change that I have made. I would go through my entire life again, start to finish, to end up right where I'm at right now. And how many of us can say that? No anger, no hatred of all the people who got me here. Just simply being thankful for where I am, because I really love the person that I am. I love the abilities that I have. I love the strength and courage that I have. I love how I fail and get right back up. Actioning versus reacting. I would love to hear your guys' thoughts on this. Shoot me a message. Send me a direct message. Send me an email. Shoot me a text. Give me a phone call. Let me know what you think. Another byproduct, real quick here, and then we're going to close out because it is getting dark here and I need to let my doggies in. My sweet doggies. Anyhow, another byproduct of successfully actioning your life is that the people who begin to show up in your life, who see this new light, this new power, this new strength within you, they are more in tune and in touch with themselves. They are more responsible for themselves. They are more emotionally and spiritually, independently stable. We'll do a show on that down the road. We will do a show on that down the road because there's a lot to be said for what you can manifest into your life. It's true. And it all starts with showing up for yourself. All right, my sweet Glimpse family and listeners. Oh my gosh, how I appreciate you so much. Thank you for the feedback. Thank you for tuning in. Please subscribe. Hit that subscribe button on whatever platform that you are listening to A Glimpse into the Moment. Hit subscribe. Share this with your friends. If you think that there is somebody who would benefit from this conversation that you just heard, copy the link and send it to them. Okay? One courageous act of friendship, one courageous act between a family member, one courageous act between somebody who you only bumped into a few times can literally shift the course of somebody's life. Okay? I think we all can right now, if we close our eyes, we can really manifest a picture. We can bring a picture to mind of an instance or a face in our life where somebody truly affected us, yet had little to no role in our life. Okay? So those moments, those by chance moments, are not by chance. They are by design. Okay? A greater good is watching out for you, watching out for all of us. Give me a follow on A Glimpse into the Moment on Instagram. Check out my webpage. Go over on whatsup.org, WATZUP.org, and check out the good work that is happening over there with my business partner and I. Give him a follow over on Team Sharudo on Instagram. We are just really committed to doing amazing things to help people pull through some really awful things like he and I have. Thank you, guys. I hope that you have a wonderful day. Be safe. Practice your deep breathing. Practice, instead of reacting, close your eyes, take a breath. And ask yourself, what are my options? Until next time, my friends.